الله 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 ما لنا مولى سوى الله 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 ما لنا مولى سوى الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين والعاقبة للمتقين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين. أما بعد، فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وأمر أهلك بالصلاة واصطبر عليها لا نسألك رزقا نحن نرزقك والعاقبة للتقوى. صدق الله العظيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. All praises due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the most gracious, the most merciful. Peace and blessings be upon Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. No, here. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Is that better? I can hold it. Let me just hold it. So I don't know if you guys remember that before Ramadan we had a discussion about the Tarbiyah of children. Who remembers? We had a discussion about Tarbiyah of children and we hadn't finished the topic. So I had mentioned that after Ramadan we'll continue that discussion. So today inshallah we'll continue that discussion inshallah. So before we continue, I'll do a recap for us inshallah from before Ramadan. And in summary, we had mentioned about the importance of raising our children properly, right? So regarding the importance of raising our children, we had mentioned four main points. So I'll repeat them inshallah. So the first one, we had mentioned that children are a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that, Allah subhanahu mentioned in the Quran that إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُكُمْ وَأَوْلَادُكُمْ fitna, right? So verily that your wealth and your children, they are a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for us. The way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tests people by giving them wealth and lack thereof by not giving some people wealth, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also gives people children, and also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, some people Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not give them children. So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees how they deal with their children, how they raise their children. Are they fulfilling the rights of the children or not? Are they patient with their children? Do they go over above and beyond in their love for the children, so much that because of that they start not fulfilling the right of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Sometimes the parents, they become so much in love with their children that they'll start hoarding their wealth. We had covered the hadith, right? That they'll save all their money for their children, for their children's college. And the child is still a toddler and they're thinking 20 years beyond. And someone asks for help, they'll say, no, I don't have any money because all my money is going to the college savings, right? To pay for the college for the child. So that's also wrong. And also we become very coward because of the children, because when our parents ask us to come visit them, we say, oh no, I'm busy with my children. I cannot leave the home because too busy with the children, right? So that also is something that the children do that to us. So we have to have a balanced approach with the children. And it's a test. We should treat it as a test. And if we treat them properly, then on the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will find us among the people who pass that test. If we don't treat them properly, if we neglect their education, if we neglect their religious education, and alayadu billah, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbid they leave the fold of Islam, and it's because of our neglect, then on the day of judgment, we could be held responsible, right? So that was the first one. The first one is the main one, so that we fulfill that test, pass that test. Second one is that we make sure that we fulfill the right of our children. We raise them properly so that they treat us well, right? Because eventually we will be getting old. Sooner or later we'll be getting old. And if we don't teach our children, if we don't give them the proper education of Islam, if we do not connect them to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then they'll forget about us. If we just tell them, if you tell your children that respect me, obey me, they're going to say, who are you? Right? But if you tell them that obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then they'll obey you. Understand? So you have to connect your children to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, give them proper teachings of Islam, then they'll automatically take care of you. Then when you get old, you won't have to be submitted at the old age home. You'll be home and they'll be taking care of you. They'll be respecting you. Understand? So that's another benefit of raising children properly. And the third one is that when we raise them properly and they grow up to become pious, after we die, they become a source of sadaqah jariyah. You know what sadaqah jariyah is? Sadaqah jariyah is a stream of reward that you keep attaining despite dying, after dying, in your grave. Otherwise, in this world, whatever you do, whatever action you do, after you die, that's done. You cannot do anything else. Can you give sadaqah? Can you do anything else after dying? Not everything stops, except for if you leave pious children. If you leave pious children and they were pious because of you, not because of on their own. Maybe sometimes parents completely neglect their children, and then so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala still guides them later on, right? Then that is not because of you. Understand? Then in that case, they will have to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to send a copy of their good deeds to you. But if you did certain things because of your actions that became pious, then they don't have to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you a copy. Everything good that they will do, you automatically keep getting a copy, subhanAllah, right? And if you leave pious children like that, and once they have children, what are the chances that their children will be pious? High chances, right? So then that chain will continue till the day of judgment. And each and every generation, everything good that they do, you'll keep getting a copy of that. So is that exponential reward? It is, right? So that's another benefit of raising our children properly. Last one is that the last one we had mentioned last time was that so that we can be with our children in Jannah. If we don't take care of them properly, if we don't raise them properly, if they leave the fold of Islam, then we might end up in Jannah, maybe. But what if they don't enter Jannah? So would you like that? Would we like that? In this world, wherever we go, we like to have them with us, right? And even after they get married, we try to have them live with us, don't we? Right? Even though that can lead to fightings and other issues, but we try to keep them together as much as we can. That's because of our love for them. And at least we want them to be nearby. We want them to keep coming, keep visiting us, right? But if they don't end up in Jannah, then there's no meeting. There's no meeting whatsoever. People in Jannah, they will never meet the people in hellfire, and the other way around. So we want that, so therefore we want to make sure we raise them properly so that we and them and their children, their spouses, we all be together in Jannah, right? We visit each other, they visit us, we visit them. It will be a happy moment, right? Imagine if that doesn't happen, then we'll be upset. So these are some of the main primary benefits of taking care of our children. Now I'll mention some of the things that we could do to raise our children properly, some general guidelines, inshallah. And then after that, if we have enough time, I'll mention specific things that we must do, we should try to do, specific things that are considered a right of our children. So general guideline, first of all, is that we ourselves become what we want our children to be. We want our children to be like the Sahaba, right? We want our children to copy the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the way Sahaba did. So we ourselves become like the Sahaba. We ourselves connect with the scholars and figure out how the Sahaba lived, how they inculcated the Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in their lives. And if we ourselves start doing that, then the children, they'll also start doing that. If we don't do it, and then we still tell our children to do it, that won't have too much effect. Understand? The correct form of raising children is that you become what you want them to be, you and your spouse. Okay, not only us. If you yourself become what you want them to be, and then your spouse, you leave your spouse behind, that's also an issue. Understand? So ourselves and our spouses, we become what we want our children to be. And just becoming is also not enough. We need to tell them regularly, this is right, this is wrong, this is right, this is wrong. We have come across several examples where the parents, they were upright Muslims, but they did not care about their children. They themselves went to pray. They did not take their children to pray. The mother, wore a scarf, but she did not tell her daughters to wear a scarf. We've seen those examples as well. So we don't want that either. On the flip side, we don't want a situation where we're not praying, but we're telling the children, son, pray. We're not wearing the hijab, we're telling the daughters, go wear hijab. Will that have effect? That also won't have an effect. So the correct way of properly raising children is that we ourselves do the right thing, and we also tell them to do the right thing. Understand? And that the worst is that you yourself don't do anything, and you don't tell them to do anything, and then they are on their way. They're on their way, you're on your path, and that's the worst. We don't want that. Understand? The correct way is we ourselves correct ourselves. If we are lacking, maybe one of the spouse is better. Maybe one of the spouse is more religious, right? So then if it's the wife, she encourages the husband that let's go listen to the lecture. Why don't you pray? Let's pray, let's stay up, let's wake up for tahajjud. If it's the husband who's religious, he encourages her. I'm listening to this lecture. Why don't you also listen to this lecture, right? So we take raising the children as a team. It's a team effort. And as soon as one of them is behind, let's say the wife is behind, and then you go to work, and you're busy with earning a halal living, but she's at home, and she's just watching TV, listening to music, because she was not at the same level, not on the same page as you, so now she will bring a deficiency in the upbringing of the children. Understand? On the flip side, if the mother is upright, she's praying, but the father he is lacking, and he doesn't care, he gambles, right? And then he watches anything and everything, he lies, he has bad morals, then the son will learn that from him. Whatever mother is teaching will be whitewashed. The father will teach the opposite. Understand? So both have to be on the same page. We both have to have the best morals, and then the children will automatically become good. And that also gives us a lesson that if we are not married, then this is also a good time to think about our children. Before marriage, think about how your children are going to be. How are you going to do that? By picking the right spouse. Understand? For a man, a lot of times men look at beauty, they look at the degree, the formal education, right? But they discount on religion, the piety. Oh, she'll become pious over time. She'll become pious. Then they discount that, right? We shouldn't do that. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions that people look when they are looking for a spouse, they look for beauty, they look for lineage, they look for family, and they look for religion. But religion should be the highest priority. As soon as you find religion in a spouse, then all the other mismatch, it won't matter. But if you didn't find religion in the spouse and you found beauty, maybe you found the lineage, but then if you anything that there's going to be no adjustment, and then all the other factors that don't match, it will come into play. Then you'll think, oh, I should have gotten someone from the same country as myself. She's from a different country, that's why we're not getting along. Or maybe she was raised like this, that's why we're not getting along. You know what the real reason is? Because we're lacking religion. If you have religion, then all the mismatch will not matter. So that's why before marriage, the highest priority should be given to religion. She has religion, you have religion, and all the flip side as well. If you have daughters and you're looking for husbands for her, then you look for him, religion in him. You don't look for money. Like money is secondary. Highest priority is he must be religious. He must be praying. He must have knowledge of Quran. He must be a practicing Muslim. But you know what's happening nowadays? Oh, he should have a degree, he should have a house, and he should have a high paying job. That's the main checklist. And then he is not praying, inshallah, he'll become a practicing Muslim, inshallah, sooner or later. Who knows? He might never. He might become that in his like 60s once his children are out of his jurisdiction, and children are already going in the wrong path, and then he decides to do tawbah. Too late, right? Imagine if he was practicing Muslim right from the get-go. As soon as they got married, he was practicing Muslim, and all their children they grow up to be practicing Muslim. So that's why if we're not married and we're looking for spouses, we make sure we find the religious and practicing Muslim spouses. And then I want to mention, there's so many things that could be mentioned, but I want to mention that when children, um, well, when children are born, we must give adhan, do tahniq, and do aqiqah. But afterwards, the ladies, they should make sure that they breastfeed the child, right? That also has a huge role in the child's character. It also mentions that make sure that you don't allow a lady who has bad character or who is dumb to breastfeed your child, because that will have an effect on the child. Even that milk is going to have an effect on the child. So understand, so we make sure that that happens. We don't, unless needed, sometimes the ladies cannot produce it, then you can go to the alternate solution, but that should be priority. Even the hospitals nowadays, they even give you the pump, right? If you cannot, they give you the machine to produce milk. So even the doctors, they encourage that because there's a reason behind it, and the reason is that the children, they get all the good traits of the mother gets transferred to the child. And also we should realize that if the good traits can transfer, also bad traits can transfer. So mother should be extra careful in her own habits during that phase, that first 2 years of the child's upbringing. Afterwards, between 2 and 7 is the age of imitation. The age of imitation. Children at that age, they love to copy. They love to copy because in their mind is like an empty book, empty notebook, right? And they'll have to learn everything from the parents because they're at home. 95% of the time they're at home. So anything that they learn is from the parents. And they don't have the intellect to understand what's right, what's wrong. They don't have the intellect to understand what's logically correct. They don't have that intellect. So what's left? Imitation. Understand? So whatever we do as parents, they'll copy that. You could tell them something else, but whatever you're doing, they'll just copy that. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions that teaching someone at a young age, teaching kids at a young age, learning in the youth is like drawing a line on a rock, versus learning at an old age is like drawing a line on water. SubhanAllah. So if you draw a line on water, it's gone. As soon as, even before your line is complete, the initial part of the line is gone, right? But if you draw on a rock, it's permanent, right? So therefore, at this young age, between 2 and even all the way till adolescence, we make sure that we teach them by example. So at that point, in the initial age, we show the right thing, and also we keep telling them. Once Hassan radiallahu anhu, he took a date of zakat. He took a date of zakat and he put it in his mouth. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Bakh, bakh, take it out of your mouth. Don't you know that we don't take wealth of zakat? We don't eat, we don't consume zakat." So some said that, so then he took it out. As simple as that. So that's the age of also teaching them manners, telling them what's good and what's not, telling them that this is wrong, don't lie, you shouldn't lie. We don't lie, Muslims never lie. We should remind them that. And all the tarbiyah you do at that age has to be indirect. You cannot rebuke them because they're still too little, right? You cannot be too strict on them, they're still too little. Understand? And how do we understand that? Even Rasulullah mentions that when your children, they reach the age of 7, that's when you verbally tell them to pray, right? And then when they reach the age of 10, if they're still misbehaving, then you can discipline them physically. So at the age of 10, Rasulullah is saying that you could do something physical. So before that, there's other ways of disciplining as well, but the best way of disciplining younger children is by our own actions. Our own actions. And also, I want to remind us that we make sure that we curate a great environment for the children. Understand? So you and your spouse are maybe upright, but you let your children watch TV, you let your children just go on YouTube and browse on their own. That's also another environment. You're giving them a third parent. The TV is another parent for the child now. Understand? So if we don't curate the environment for the children, then they'll fall prey to that environment. And also, not only the TVs and the tablets, we also make sure who we let our children hang out with. Understand? Sometimes you let your children go to maybe the neighbors, and the neighbors don't care about how they raise their children. They always have the TV running and whatever, anything playing on the TV, even the inappropriate things, and the child learns from that. And if your child is going there in that environment, your home is clean, but that environment is impure. So now you're letting your children get affected by that impure environment. Understand? So that's why we make sure that, especially that age between 2 and 7, we make sure we give them a lot of good physical environment indirectly through us. And then at the age of 7 is the age of formal education, right? So we start their education, sometimes we start it before at the age of 5, but in Islam, it's at 7. 7, they're mentally ready to learn, take formal education. And normally what we do is we put them in schools and they get all their secular education, but they're left behind in their religious education. But even though the reality is that even the religious education should be taught at the age of 7. 7 is the best age for a child to start doing hifz. Start memorizing the Quran. Imam Shafi'i, he memorized the Quran at the age of 7. And so many scholars, they memorize the Quran at the age of 10. So you have to start at the age of 7, the formal education. They could also do their secular education, but be fair. If your child is spending several hours in the secular system, 6 hours, 8 hours, how many hours is he spending learning the religious education? Are you being fair? Is he going only on Sunday for 2 hours to learn at the Sunday school? Is that it? And then at the secular education, he's spending 40 hours, 30 to 40 hours a week. So where will he excel? Where will the child excel? In the secular education? Yes. Will he stay behind in the religious education? Yes. Understand? So we have to be very fair. And also from the age of 7 till adulthood, we have to become their friends. That's how we treat them. We become very close to them because now at that age, they need a friend. They need a friend, a close friend. Not only we become their friends, we also find them good friends. Because if you don't find them good friends, they will find themselves bad friends. Understand? So Rasulullah mentions that الرجل على دين خليله, a man is upon the religion of his friend. So if our children have bad friends, then they'll be on the religion of their bad friends. So we do two things. We ourselves become their friends, and then we find them good friends. Inshallah. So may Allah SWT give myself and all of us the ability, tawfiq, to raise our children properly. And even if we haven't done it so far, it's never too late. It's never too late. You can, from now, just make this intention that from now I'll change myself, me and my spouse will change ourselves, and we'll care about how the children are being raised. Inshallah, everyone's going to do amal upon it. وآخر دعوانا الحمد لله رب العالمين.